Hello, everybody. Oh, that's loud in my ears there. My name is Kristen Weaver. I'm here to talk to you in this quick flash talk about some citizen science research we did with the Globe Observer app. So the Globe program is a citizen science project that's been around for over 20 years, mostly with teachers doing data collection with students. But we recently, about a year and a half ago, released an app to allow anybody who wants to do data collection via a smartphone app. And so for the Eclipse, normally what we have in the app is what we started with was clouds observations, and then we added a mosquito habitat mapper. But for the Eclipse, which is what I'm talking about today, I'm going to talk about the clouds. But we also added a specific, a separate protocol, it's special for the Eclipse, just asking people to get a simple thermometer and measure the air temperature so we can try to answer the question, how cool was the Eclipse? Because we all know it was really awesome in that sense of cool, but what about the actual temperature change? So am I not pressing the right direction? Okay, so why is it, which one? So just to start out with some nice pictures of some of the events that we did. We had the Globe Observer team at about half a dozen different locations across the path of totality, but we also had people collecting data all over the country and even outside of the United States where there was just partial eclipse. So why was it not? There it goes. So clouds first. So this is data from viz.globe.gov. All of this data is freely available. And these are our cloud observations on the day of the eclipse. You can see the key down there in the lower right. So no clouds. That's good for eclipse viewing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of gray on this map. And this is for the entire day. But you can really see we had a lot of observations on the path of totality. You can definitely pick that out. But we got a lot of observations other places. So one of the ideas of this is that this is a data set that then students can access, as Globe was traditionally an education program, and they could ask their own questions. For example, is there a difference in the temperature drop if it was cloudy versus a clear day? Also some differences in the time of day the eclipse occurred, whether it was in the morning on the West Coast or the afternoon on the East Coast, and perhaps even pull in some other data sets like humidity or some other factors that they might be able to look at and do some comparisons themselves. So this is then our temperature data collected that day. So it's in 5-minute intervals, and you'll see our eclipse path. If you notice over here, look at these white and pink ones. That's the best way you can see the temperature drop there. So there's our eclipse shadow going past. And you'll see those pink and white thermometers go away, mostly. And then sort of come back. So you can even visually, in this really quick visualization that we had ready to go on the day of the eclipse so people could actually see the data as it was coming in, but you can actually see some of that temperature change. And I should have said, so we ended up with about 10,000 observers across the country making eclipse observations, either clouds or air temperature. We had almost 20,000 cloud observations and over 60,000 cloud pictures submitted. And then we got over 80,000 air temperature measurements. So we really exceeded our expectations. And in the lead up to the eclipse, we actually increased the number of people signed up for our app by basically a factor of 3. So it was a really powerful draw for people interested in this. So the question then is, what can you do with this? And again, these are pretty basic types of graphs and things, because my goal in this, my background is as a middle school science teacher. I want things that middle school and high school students can do. So this is just an Excel graph, not anything terribly complicated, but you can see up the top one is Salem, Oregon. There's the clouds data from that day for Salem, Oregon. That had a temperature drop. These actually both had a temperature drop of about 3 degrees, but you notice the temperature in Salem is a lot lower. In Beatrice, Nebraska, that's where I was. It was pretty cloudy. Unfortunately, also about a 3-degree temperature drop, but on average. So this is the sort of thing you can imagine students being able to do, but it's using real data. And they could look at, if you had a class doing it, you could have different students doing different locations and do some kind of interesting comparisons. And so the maximum eclipse, something else that's kind of interesting is if you notice the actual lowest point is a little bit after maximum eclipse in both of these cases. Oh, too far. So this one I like. This one is Casper, Wyoming, which has a really nice dip there. And that was about 5.9 degrees from the highest average temperature. But one of the interesting things, and this is just the raw data. This is not actually even looked for outliers or things like that. But this graph then has different locations, so different site IDs, so probably different observers in each of those colors. So this big one here is actually, they recorded a 16.6 degree Celsius drop. So there's still some looking at we need to do. Could be they weren't using their thermometer correctly, who knows? One of the questions still is how accurate is the citizen science data, which is pretty important. Here's another type of analysis. This was done by someone in the Globe Implementation Office, and this was more sophisticated using GIS software rather than just Excel, but actually starting to group these observations into 10-kilometer areas, and you can see some of the temperature drop there. And just final plug, if you go on our website, observer.globe.gov, Eclipse Data Analysis, there's information about how to access this data. We'd love to have professional scientists look at it too, although we are definitely wanting the students as well. So there's where you can go to find that. And there's our social media and stuff if you want to follow us, and how to download the app. So I have, I think, less than a minute, so maybe one question if anyone has questions.